He swore he'd never hurt me. He said that at night, whenever the world seemed small and safe, when his voice became soft and he wrapped his arms around me like a promise. He said it when we spoke of the future, when he pushed my hair away from my face and studied me like I was something delicate and dear. He said it with such confidence, as if love could shield us from every single thing that had ever gone wrong in other people's lives. I believed him. I didn't believe him blindly. I believed him cautiously, the way you believe someone after you've been burned. I took him for his word, because he heard me, because he remembered small things, because he chose to stay when the going got tough rather than run. Since he never released my hand during awkward moments when we needed it the most. I told myself that this was different. I wasn't looking for forever when we met. I was looking for calm. I was tired of chaos, tired of guessing where we stood, tired of loving people who saw commitment as a burden. He felt so steady in a way I had never known. He didn't rush. He didn't overwhelm. He didn't play games. He turned up as promised. He called when he promised. He looked at me and inquired how my day had been and waited to hear the answer. When he first said he loved me, it wasn't a big deal. We had draped ourselves over the couch, our limbs intertwined, a movie we were half watching in the background. He spoke as if it were already true, as if he were merely stating an undeniable fact. I chuckled softly, not because it was funny, but because it seemed surreal. Love that doesn't hurt at first always feels wrong. I allowed myself to pull off from there. We built routines. Morning messages. Late-night calls. Weekend plans that became shared rituals. He knew how I took my coffee. I could tell when what he needed was quiet, not reassurance. We knew each other in the silent places, not only the thrilling ones. That's how trust grows. Not all in one go, but little by little, insensibly, until one day you suddenly realize that you have given away your heart without knowing when it happened. He spoke of the future as though it were already ours. Trips we'd take. A place we'd live. A life that somehow seemed simple and honest and full. Even when doubts entered his mind, he saw them before I raised them. I am not going to hurt you, he would say. I'm not like that. And because I wanted there to be something good, I believed him again. The signs were small at first. So subtle I didn't even refer to them as changes. He got busier. His replies came later. Sometimes his voice would sound distracted, as if his mind was off in the distance while the rest of him stayed with me. But life gets busy, I told myself. Stress happens. People do not cease to love you because they are drained. I asked if everything was okay, and he smiled and said yes. When I inquired as to whether I'd upset him, he shook his head and drew me near. When I got a twinge of worry, he kissed my forehead and said I was overthinking. So I quieted myself. I didn't want to be that woman who borrowed trouble. I didn't want love to be interrogatory. But I didn't want to let fear cost me something good. Still, something felt off. He would go silent in our conversations, only to return with a force that didn't correspond to what we had been discussing. Moments when his phone buzzed, and he flipped it over without thinking. Laughter that sounded forced. A delayed kind of fondness, as though he was offering it more out of habit than reflex. I saw these things, but I justified them. Just last week, he'd sworn that he would never hurt me. The night everything changed was unremarkable. There was no screaming, no spectacle, no instant that seemed big enough to prepare me for the way my world would shatter. We were sitting there, both silent in the comfortable silence we'd shared 100 times before. His phone flashed on the table between us. He didn't grab it immediately. That's what made me look. The preview of the message vanished soon, but not before one word reached my mind. A name I didn't recognize. A tone that was intimate in a manner to which I had no claim. My stomach tightened. I didn't accuse him. I didn't grab the phone. Who the hell was that? He did not meet my eye when he replied. Just a friend. There was something off in his voice, the unmatch with the words. I nodded, pretending to offer you my agreement, pretending not to feel the rustling in the air. But once you see a crack, you cannot unsee it. And when doubt comes in, it doesn't quietly sit itself down. It grows teeth. In the days that followed, small things only grew louder. His phone was never far away. His screen stayed locked. He began to walk away to take calls. His narratives became reported with detail, as though he were trying them out while telling me. I tried to talk to him. I told him I seemed to feel far from him, that something was off. He looked hurt, offended even. He said I didn't trust him. He said he felt accused. I was allowing my past to poison our present, he said. So I apologized. So I swallowed my instincts and said to myself that love meant giving the benefit of the doubt. Truth always becomes no matter how deep you try to bury it. I found out by accident. Or perhaps it was no accident. Perhaps a part of me even knew all along and only needed the weight of evidence powerful enough to shatter the contents of my dream puzzle reality. He was in the shower when he saw a notification. The screen glowed, vivid, the impossible to ignore. It was, this time, no longer just a name. It was a message. Personal. Familiar. Intimate in an aching, chest-tightening sort of way. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. It landed, all truthy and heavy across my shoulders. The late replies. The distraction. The secrecy. The mild withdrawal I had attributed to stress. He wasn't tired. He was divided. I didn't cry when he re-entered the room. I didn't yell. I gave him his phone and told him to tell me the truth. He hesitated. It was the pause that did more damage than anything else. He attempted to back down at first. He said it wasn't serious. He said it just happened. He told me it was never his intention for it to get this far. It, he said, didn't change how he felt about me. Every sentence was a knife. I asked him why he lied. He told me he didn't want to hurt me. I asked him what made him cross the line. He said he was confused. I asked him why he had promised never to hurt me if he could in fact do just that. He didn't have an answer. What he had was excuses. Justifications. Half-truths dressed up as honesty. He talked about pain as if it were an unfortunate side effect, not a predictable consequence of what he had been doing. I listened quietly. Something in me was breaking, but also something else was hardening. At that moment, I came to understand the ultimate betrayal wasn't the other person. It was his direct gaze in my eyes as he promised me safety and plotted behind my back. It was how he allowed me to question myself instead of telling me the truth. It was how he used the trust one placed in him as a weapon against me. I never meant to hurt you, he repeated. But you did, I replied. And you knew you would. There was a lingering, thick finality to the silence that settled between us. He came toward me, reaching out his hand, but I stepped back. Not because I hated him, but because I finally loved myself enough not to tolerate less than the truth. The guy I'd trusted and believed in, the guy who swore he would never hurt me, was just words. What he did sent a different message. And actions were the only truth that mattered. Leaving wasn't easy. Love doesn't disappear when trust fractures. It festers, heart-sore and bewildered. It clings to what is past. At night, I played memories on repeat and questioned if any of it was real. Days I questioned my judgment. Times I didn't miss the guy. I thought I knew. But with distance came clarity. I realized how many times I'd bit my tongue to keep the peace. How many times I'd settled for reassurance over transparency. Oh my God, how I'd mistaken consistency for loyalty, words for integrity. I discovered a person can love you and cheat on you. That doesn't mean those promises are worth much without some accountability. That trust, once breached, isn't easily restored by apologies. The biggest lesson I learned is that love should not cause you to lose your intuition. He reached out weeks later. He said he regretted everything. He said he lost me while realizing what he had done. He told me he wished he could rewind. I listened calmly this time. Then I told him the truth. I said I had no doubt he cared in his way. But I also said that care without regard is not love. That post-betrayal regret doesn't make the harm go away. That I was owed a love that didn't depend on constant forgiveness. He swore again that he would never hurt me if he had another chance. I smiled sadly. That is what you said the last time, I responded. Walking away was like grief and freedom were both braided together. I was not walking away because I no longer loved him. I was walking away because I'd finally grasped that caring about someone doesn't equal sticking with him after he breaks what he promised to protect. He did hurt me, but
he didn't destroy me.
what he smashed taught me something profound. It taught me to believe in actions more than words, to hear the silent alarms in my own head, to pick myself even when it is painful. Today, though, when I think of the man who swore he'd never hurt me, I can no longer summon the anger that once boiled inside. I feel clarity, and clarity comes as a kind of peace. For the truth is, when he hurt me, he ceased to be the man he professed to be. And when I ran away, I became the woman I was supposed to be.